Okay. I'll begin by singing the Mangalacharana prayers and leading a short kirtan. And then I will read a verse from Srimad-Bhagavatam that reminds me of Srila Prabhupada. And from there we will speak about Srila Prabhupada. And you mentioned my book. Actually, it's out. Just got an advance copy. And but it will have to be shipped from the printer in Mumbai to different destinations. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padakamalam Vaishnavaṁscha Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Krishna Prasnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarime Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Srila Gurudeva. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Satasri Srimad-Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Satasri Srimad-Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Samveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. So we shall read a verse from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2, Remembrance of Lord Krishna, Text 23. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Aho bakīyam stana-kāla-kūṭaṁ jighāṁsayāpāyayad asādhvī lebhe gatiṁ dhātry-ucitāṁ tato nyaṁ dayāluṁ śaraṇaṁ vrajema. Aho bakīyam stana-kāla-kūṭaṁ jighāṁsayāpāyayad asādhvī lebhe gatiṁ dhātry-ucitāṁ tato nyaṁ dayāluṁ śaraṇaṁ vrajema. Aho, alas, bakī, the she-demon, Pūtanā, yam, whom, stana, of her breast, kāla, deadly, kūṭaṁ, poison, jighāṁsaya, out of envy, apāyayad, nourished, api, although, asādhvī, unfaithful, lebhe, achieved, gatiṁ, destination, dhātry-ucitāṁ, just suitable for the nurse, tata, beyond whom, nyaṁ, other, kam, who else, va, certainly, dayāluṁ, merciful, śaraṇaṁ, shelter, vrajema, shall I take. Translation. Alas, how shall I take shelter of one more merciful than he, who granted the position of mother to a she-demon, Pūtanā, although she was unfaithful and she prepared deadly poison to be sucked from her breast. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Here is an example of the extreme mercy of the Lord, even to his enemy. It is said that a noble man accepts the good qualities of a person of doubtful character, just as one accepts nectar from a stalk of poison. In his babyhood, he was administered deadly poison by Pūtanā, a she-demon who tried to kill the wonderful baby. And because she was a demon, it was impossible for her to know that the Supreme Lord, even though playing the part of a baby, was no one less than the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. His value as the Supreme Lord did not diminish upon his becoming a baby to please his devotee Yashoda. The Lord may assume the form of a baby or a shape other than that of a human being, but it does not make the slightest difference. He is always the same Supreme. A living creature, however powerful he may become by dint of severe penance, can never become equal to the Supreme Lord. Lord Krishna accepted the motherhood of Pūtanā because she pretended to be an affectionate mother, allowing Krishna to suck her breast. The Lord accepts the least qualification of the living entity and awards him the highest reward. That is the standard of his character. Therefore, who but the Lord can be the ultimate shelter? Jai, a very beautiful verse and purport. And our host requested me to speak about Srila Prabhupada, and I thought to do so in relation to this verse, because I feel the same way about Srila Prabhupada. How can I take shelter of one more merciful than he? Now, the verse I just read is very significant. Not only is the verse beautiful, but it also has historical significance. Because when Shukadeva Goswami came out of the womb after 16 years, he left home immediately. And his father, Srila Vyasadeva, followed him into the forest. And when he came close enough to him, he recited 2 verses from Srimad-Bhagavatam, one describing Krishna's beauty from the 10th canto, and one describing Krishna's mercy, which was this verse. When Shukadeva Goswami heard these 2 verses, the one describing Krishna's mercy and the one describing Krishna's beauty, he became attracted. Although liberated, he became attracted by the transcendental qualities of Krishna. And he came back to hear Srimad-Bhagavatam from his father, Vyasadeva. So we read in the purport, here is an example of the supreme mercy of the Lord, even to his enemy. It is said that a noble man accepts the good qualities of a person of doubtful character, just as one accepts nectar from a stalk of poison. So the Lord is absolute. He is all good for everyone. And he is neutral toward everyone. He is always thinking of how to do good for others. So even if one approaches him as an enemy, he will try to do good for the person, as was the case with Pūtanā. Although she came to kill him by administering poison from her breast, he elevated her to the position of a nurse, like a mother, in the spiritual world. Srila Prabhupada said, it is the mark of a good man that he takes the good side, not the bad side of others. He gave the example of his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta had a disciple named Kunja Bihari Das. People used to call him Kunja Babu, who, Srila Prabhupada said, came to do business with their Guru Maharaj, to profit personally from his relationship with their Guru Maharaj and from his service to the Gaudiya Math. But Srila Prabhupada said their Guru Maharaj didn't take Kunja's dark side, that he was coming to make business, but he took the bright side, that he was coming to offer service. In a talk with Bob Cohen, who later became our dear Brahmatirtha Prabhu, in Mayapur, as recorded in the book Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers, Srila Prabhupada said, Pūtanā Rakshasi, she offered Krishna poison, but Krishna is so nice that he thought she took me as my mother. So he took the poison and delivered her. Krishna does not take the bad side. A good man does not take the bad side. He takes only the good side. Just like one of my big godbrothers, he wanted to make business with my Guru Maharaj. But my Guru Maharaj did not take the bad side. He took the good side. He thought, he has come forward to give me some service. So this verse reminds me of Srila Prabhupada. How shall I take shelter of one more merciful than he? There was no one more merciful than Srila Prabhupada. Lord Nityananda is most merciful. And Srila Prabhupada manifested the same quality of mercy as Nityananda Prabhu. When Srila Prabhupada was in Bombay, he received a phone call from the temple president in Calcutta, who reported that one of Prabhupada's earliest disciples from America had come to Calcutta and was smoking ganja, marijuana, and asked what to do. Prabhupada told his secretary to relay his response. Tell him if he does not stop smoking ganja, I will reject him. Afterwards, Tamal Krishna Goswami asked, is it true that if he doesn't stop smoking ganja, you will reject him? And Prabhupada said, no, I cannot reject anyone. The mercy of Lord Nityananda has no limit. Then maybe 2 years later, we were in Juhu, and Srila Prabhupada had a disciple who fell into bad company and was living on Juhu Beach and doing yogic tricks. He was doing things like putting a penny or a paisa in his ear and then making it come out somewhere else. Different strange things to collect money. And he was known as a disciple of Prabhupada and a member of ISKCON. So Tamal Krishna Goswami approached Srila Prabhupada and said, this is happening, and he's giving you a bad name and giving ISKCON a bad name. You should reject him. And again, Srila Prabhupada said, I cannot reject anyone. Tamal Krishna Goswami asked, but don't you have to draw the line somewhere? And again, Srila Prabhupada replied, the mercy of Lord Nityananda has no limit. How shall I take shelter of one more merciful than he? Srila Prabhupada. Another related quality of Srila Prabhupada's is that he was always willing to give someone a chance. Around 1976, a strange person with a PhD came to the Juhu temple and said he wanted to join. And Srila Prabhupada invited him to stay upstairs with him. At that time, there were 6 tenement buildings, which came with the Juhu land, and Srila Prabhupada had us build an additional floor on the top of each of those 6 buildings. Though in the end, we added an additional floor on only 5 of the 6. In the bigger buildings, each floor had 2 apartments. And in Srila Prabhupada's building, he had one side for himself and the other side for his personal staff. So he let this sort of strange character stay upstairs with his personal staff next door to his own quarters. And Prabhupada was spending quite a bit of time with him. Hansadutta Prabhu was visiting at the time, and he told Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, you're just wasting your time with this man. He's never going to amount to anything. But Prabhupada kept spending time with him. And in the end, the man left. He never did amount to anything. But when Hansadutta mentioned that to Prabhupada, I could see that he was never going to amount to anything. Prabhupada replied, I wanted to give him a chance. Another person whom Srila Prabhupada encouraged was Dr. C.P. Patel, who would almost always accompany him on his morning walks on Juhu Beach. They had a friendly relationship, but Dr. Patel would sometimes speak like a Mayavadi. Prabhupada would accuse him, you're a Mayavadi. And Dr. Patel would reply, "No, sir, I'm a Vaishnava, a pure Vaishnava." One morning, Dr. Patel and Srila Prabhupada had a huge argument. Dr. Patel would bring up different so-called holy men of India, and if they were not up to the standard, Srila Prabhupada would criticize them. So one morning, Srila Prabhupada was criticizing one of Dr. Patel's revered so-called saints of India. And Dr. Patel and Prabhupada had a huge argument. Dr. Patel raised his voice to Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada raised his voice to Dr. Patel. They were literally shouting at each other. And we disciples were quite upset. And Dr. Patel's friends, he had his cronies, were trying to pull him away, saying, "Don't upset Swamiji, he has a heart condition." And eventually they pulled him away. Back at Hare Krishna land, Tamal Krishna Goswami approached Srila Prabhupada in his room and asked him, "What is Dr. Patel's position? Is he a Vaishnav or a Mayavadi, an impersonalist?" In response, Prabhupada told a story about a man who could speak many languages. In whatever language people addressed him, he could respond fluently. No one could figure out where the man was actually from. After much discussion, a neighbor said, "I will find out." So one day, when the man was preoccupied, the neighbor came up behind him and gave him a big whack. And when the man started to curse in his native tongue, his origin was disclosed. Dr. Patel is like that, Prabhupada said. He can speak very expertly. He can sound like a devotee, sound like a Vaishnav, sound like a Mayavadi, sound like anything. But when I gave him a slap where it really hurt, the so-called saintly person that he revered, his real language came out. "So why do you put up with him?" Tamal Krishna asked. "He's so offensive." "It is our duty to engage everyone," Prabhupada said. He wanted to give Dr. Patel a chance. And as the years passed, Dr. Patel developed great affection for Srila Prabhupada. And after Prabhupada left this world, wrote a beautiful article for Back to Godhead about his relationship with him. The article was titled, quote, my life's most precious moments, end quote, with the subtitle, "A Bombay doctor wins the title Big Fool and loves it," because Prabhupada would always call Dr. Patel a mudha. He would say, "I am not saying, Krishna is saying, namam duskritino mudha." Anyone who does not surrender to Krishna is a mudha, fool. So therefore, the BTG article had the subtitle, "A Bombay doctor wins the title Big Fool and loves it." How shall I take shelter of one more merciful than he? Srila Prabhupada had so many wonderful qualities, but his most important quality, especially for us, was his extreme mercifulness. Srila Prabhupada had a good friend in Bombay named Bhogilal Patel. Bhogilal was elder to Srila Prabhupada by about 3 years, and he was extremely pious. The first devotee to meet him was Gargamuni. And when Gargamuni was explaining Srila Prabhupada's work, Bhogilal Patel wept profuse tears of appreciation. One day, some years later, Bhogilal Patel came to meet Srila Prabhupada at Prabhupada's flat at the back of Hare Krishna land. I had a close relationship with Seth Bhogilal, so I brought him up to meet Prabhupada. They were talking, and as is natural in a conversation, when Prabhupada was speaking, I would look at him, and when Bhogilal was speaking, I would look at him. But at one stage, while Bhogilal was speaking, I looked at Srila Prabhupada, which Prabhupada wasn't expecting. And he was looking at me with such love and affection, like a father or a doting grandfather. By age, Srila Prabhupada was more like a grandfather. I was surprised that he was looking at me with so much love. But as soon as Srila Prabhupada saw me look at him, he changed his expression and became very grave and serious. I think it was some special mercy that I got a glimpse of how much love he had for us, which he didn't usually show openly. His love for us was manifest in his care for us and his giving us the knowledge of Krishna consciousness and engaging us in Krishna's service. Srila Prabhupada was very reserved about touching people, including even disciples. In 1971 in Gorakhpur, as guests of Hanuman Prasad Podar of Gita Press, we were staying in his large estate, Sri Krishna Niketan, which had previously been his personal residence. Srila Prabhupada was traveling with his small Radha Krishna deities, and he wanted to establish an altar for them in Sri Krishna Niketan. He wanted some foliage for the altar, so he sent a couple of devotees, including me, to collect some. I went out to a thicket and was collecting branches with leaves. I wasn't tearing them live, but I was looking for branches and leaves that had fallen. I just kept going deeper into the woods and collecting more and more foliage. And eventually I had a huge bundle, as much as I could possibly carry. So I was lugging the bundle up the stairs, and when I reached the temple room, Srila Prabhupada was there, and the altar was being set up. I just dropped the bundle on the floor and offered my obeisances. And while I was on the floor, Srila Prabhupada patted me on the back. It was one of the only times, maybe the only time, that he physically touched me. I looked up and he was smiling broadly. I didn't know if he even needed any more foliage, but he was pleased by my effort. Now I ask you, how shall I take shelter of one more merciful than he? So these are some of my reflections on Srila Prabhupada's quality of mercifulness. Of course, one could speak about Srila Prabhupada for hours and days. And in fact, we should spend our time glorifying Srila Prabhupada. But I think now we can take questions and comments from the devotees who are with us. And again, I request all the participants on Zoom to turn on your cameras so I can see your moon-like faces. So are there any questions or comments?
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for sharing so many wonderful pastimes and reflections from your time with Srila Prabhupada. It is so inspiring and so hope-giving that how merciful Srila Prabhupada is and how merciful all of his disciples are. So thank you so much for sharing those wonderful memories. My question, I have a question that how do we, when I say we, means like the next generation who has no the Vapu association of Srila Prabhupada, how can we please Prabhupada the most? What are a few things which we should try to do which will please Prabhupada, and we can also get his mercy or access to his mercy?
Well, before answering your question, I would like to comment on the first part of your statement, which was the preface to your question. How can we who never met Srila Prabhupada or who did not know Srila Prabhupada? And I would, most humbly and earnestly request you all to learn as much about Srila Prabhupada as possible. Of course, Srila Prabhupada said, if you want to know me, read my books. And, he said that his purports were his personal ecstasies. So to begin, we should read Srila Prabhupada's books, and we can definitely learn how to please him by reading his books. And further, I suggest that all devotees should read Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita and other books about Srila Prabhupada by his disciples, but especially everyone should read Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita and watch the videos. My god brother Yadu Bharat Das has put together a wonderful series, all the footage available of Srila Prabhupada in a series called Following Srila Prabhupada. And so I, strongly recommend all devotees see that series of videos. And as far as how to please him, our basic principle is to taste Krishna consciousness and to share Krishna consciousness. And, once Srila Prabhupada visited the Atlanta temple, and of course Srila Prabhupada put great emphasis on book distribution. And so at the Atlanta temple, book distributors from all over the southern part of the United States gathered there. And so one of the book distributors asked Srila Prabhupada, after one of the talks, he asked Srila Prabhupada, what can we do that will please you most? He was probably expecting Srila Prabhupada to say, distribute books. But Srila Prabhupada said, if you love Krishna. So that's our service to Srila Prabhupada, to develop love for Krishna, and that will please him. But along with that, of course, preach, distribute books, bring others to Krishna. That will please Krishna and Srila Prabhupada, and that will help us to develop love for Krishna. Yeah, especially now, December is a special time when we focus on book distribution. So Bhadra had his hand up and Krishna Lila had her hand up. So Shubha Vilas Prabhu, you call on one first and then you can call on the other.
Sure. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Yes, Bhadra Prabhuji, please ask your question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavad.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Prabhupada. All glories to you. You are coming from a very rich family, very rich. And you were also offered by your parents to come back, and I will give you so much money, whatever it is. But on the other side, I mean, you went to Bombay and where there was nothing. You all were living where the rats were there, snakes were there, there was no facility. And I'm just, what is it? I mean, I asked to Narayani Mataji, she went to Calcutta just like that and staying and doing the Pujari service. I asked Hanang Manjari, my wife, who did a lot of services like that just without any. And you all did so much sacrifices. And at present, if I am told to do that, forget it. I'm not going to do it. It's very simple. I need my basic necessities of my life. So the question is, what is it that you all have that? What is it that? And actually, I mean, I was hearing you at the Sasarup Maharaj's Vyas Puja. I was there because he's my guru.
Yeah.
And one time he had told me in his darshan, I'm sorry I'm taking much your time. He told me, see you with Srila Prabhupada. I said, what? Do I have faith in Prabhupada? I don't have it. But of course you have it. You are telling me, so you're going to take me. So what is it that you all had? I mean, it's mind-boggling because being an Indian, tell you the truth. And I'm from Vaishnava family, of course, from the the Vallabhacharya Sampradaya. And we have seen so many gurus, and I still don't have 100% faith in Srila Prabhupada as you all have. And it's like every time I speak with the older devotees, doesn't matter, they are not even in ISKCON, some other. But when it comes to Srila Prabhupada, they are with it. And you all have so much faith. What is it that you all have that? Can you kindly, of course, through your books, we understand. But what is it that you all have in him? That doesn't matter. You all have full faith that we're going to go to Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada is going to take us to Krishna.
Well, it's just Srila Prabhupada's mercy. He came to the West and he preached and he attracted young men and women. He came to Boston and, Mother Narayani, she also joined in Boston. And Mother Ananga Manjari, she also joined in Boston. And of course, Asrupa Maharaj was the temple president there. And Srila Prabhupada just touched our hearts. Many devotees have said they felt that they wanted what Srila Prabhupada had, that he had something that they wanted. And they were ready to do anything to get what he had. And that can come by following his instructions. And, and pleasing him. That was something that I learned fairly early in my devotional service, mainly after a discussion I had with Tamal Krishna Goswami in Calcutta. And that is that, of course, it's there in the scriptures, but that the secret of success in devotional service is to please the spiritual master. And we please him by following his instructions and by loving him. But we express our love for him through selfless service. And we get his mercy. And when we get his mercy, we feel inspired to follow his instructions more. And then we get more mercy. Then we get inspired to follow his instructions more. So, yeah, it's his mercy. He came, it's his mercy, he gives us his instructions. It's his mercy, he gives us the strength to follow his instructions. And it's his mercy that he's, tugging us along behind him, back to home, back to God.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mitra Prabhu. Maharaj, it's a wonderful question and answer. I think,
Krishna Lila.
yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I was just wondering if Dr. Patel is still alive and with us when you were talking about him previously. What has happened to Dr. Patel?
Oh, yeah. No, I don't think he is in that physical body. But yeah, he was very special. And he had a very close relationship with Srila Prabhupada. And sometimes he said that he thought maybe they were brothers in their past life. And he was very intelligent, and of course Srila Prabhupada was most intelligent. And sometimes they would converse. Srila Prabhupada would speak in Gujarati, which Prabhupada didn't know, but still he could follow. And Srila Prabhupada would reply in Bengali, which Dr. Patel didn't know, but still somehow he could follow that. And yeah, they had an amazing relationship. Yeah. And on one morning walk, Dr. Patel said to Srila Prabhupada, I don't know why I'm so attracted to you. Frankly, I've never been attracted to temples, and I've never been attracted to sadhus the way I'm attracted to you. And our dear godbrother Yasomati Nandan Das, who recently left us, he said, there is no sadhu except Srila Prabhupada. I like that spirit. Yeah. But yeah, it's amazing how Srila Prabhupada was so merciful to him. And to us, because those discussions on Juhu Beach were very interesting for us. Yeah. Very edifying. Yeah. And Dr. Patel would come every morning and accompany Srila Prabhupada on his walk. And then this one morning they had that big fight. And then Dr. Patel didn't come. Like for the first time, he didn't come. And so one day, Srila Prabhupada was walking in one direction on Juhu Beach, and Dr. Patel was walking the other direction. And the way Dr. Patel describes it, something within him just impelled him to go to Srila Prabhupada. And he came up to Srila Prabhupada and he touched his lotus feet. And he said, Swamiji, I'm sorry, but I've been taught to respect all the accredited saints of India. And Srila Prabhupada replied, yes. And my business is to say who is a saint and who is not. But after that, they sort of made up again, and then they were together every morning for those walks on Juhu Beach. Very fortunate doctor. Are there any other questions or comments?
Hare Krishna. Anyone else wants to ask any questions or comments? Please unmute yourself. Yes, Bhaswati. Yes, please.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I heard like we are inspired to do further sadhana when we receive mercy from the Lord. And so sometimes I feel I'm only doing sadhana and there's no exchange of love. I love Krishna, but we don't, as a thick skin, I don't see what is the mercy and how do we recognize the mercy of the Lord.
Well, yeah, I believe it was Bhaktivinoda Thakur who said that when the spiritual master is merciful to you, you develop a worshipful attitude towards the spiritual master. So, the mercy comes in the form of becoming more Krishna conscious, more Prabhupada conscious, and more eager to serve Krishna and the devotees, and more detached from material pursuits. Yeah, you can feel it.
Dandavat Pranam Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Maharaj, I have a question about how I will keep patience when sometimes some distraction comes in devotional service.
What do you mean by patience?
Patient means a constant focus on the devotional service when some distractions comes in life, like in our grihastha life.
Oh. Well, you have to understand that the benefit of Krishna consciousness is eternal, and the happiness of material life, or the miseries of material life, are temporary. And as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, we tolerate them like seasonal changes. Sometimes there's happiness, sometimes there's distress. And we tolerate them, but we remain fixed in our determination to become Krishna consciousness. That this, our determination that this will be our last life in this material world. And that should motivate us strongly, so that we don't get distracted. And of course, the association of advanced devotees also helps. You know, by the association of advanced devotees, we can really get a sense of what being Krishna conscious means, and, you know, what kind of person we want to become. And yeah, we can also confide in them. They can guide us. So yeah, don't miss this opportunity. I often walk at a place called Butterfly Beach here in the Santa Barbara area. And I met a man there who met, maybe even spent a little time with the Dalai Lama. And the Dalai Lama, like he touched the man on his heart, and he said, valuable human life, don't waste. And that's exactly what Srila Prabhupada would say. So whenever you're tempted to get distracted, you can think of those words. Valuable human life, don't waste.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. All goes to you.
Sorry.
Thank you so much. Yes, Privyadika Mataji, you can please ask your question.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
I don't have a question, I have a comment.
Yes.
Something in the purport stood out for me, that Krishna accepts your least qualification and rewards you with highest reward, and that's his nature. And I was thinking that that's your nature too, because you accept our least qualifications and you award us with initiation, and you accept our service even if sometimes it's sloppy and it's not up to the mark. So thank you so much for that, Guru Maharaj.
Oh, thank you for that comment. Yeah. For a while, Preeti Radhika was my main driver when I would be in that part of California. So that's a great service. Big service. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you so much. Yes, Bhadra Prabhu, please share your thoughts.
Yes, Bhadra Prabhu, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, sorry, if someone other has it, I don't want to take your time, but it looks like Krishna is giving mercy. From the past times, we all know and we can hear that Srila Prabhupada knew exactly what to speak, when to speak, and whom to speak in that time. And many times Srila Prabhupada knew your mind, where you are at. He knew exactly from many examples. From all of you had the experiences with him. So is that means that Krishna was, I mean, of course, Krishna was telling him, I mean, so he was completely pure, super soul within his heart was guiding him for all his actions, everything. We understand that. But is that means that Krishna was letting him know something, and something he didn't know during his time, and something sometimes went wrong in some part of the world because he was managing so much whole society on this planet. So can you clarify? Because we understand that Krishna, with giving him everything he wanted to give him, to guide his disciples, his institution. But sometimes some things, some places went wrong. And I'm not trying to find a fault here because we all were young, you all were young, and it was new for everybody in the life, and we understand that. So can you kindly share some thoughts on that?
Yeah, just two things. One, Srila Prabhupada said that Krishna gives the spiritual master unlimited, and of course I took it he was referring to himself. Krishna gives the spiritual master unlimited intelligence how to deal with his disciples. And the other thing about making a mistake, I don't know. So, there were many complications in the struggle for the Juhu land. And our lawyer in the beginning was a apparently pious Gujarati man named Diwanji of the Ambubai Diwanji law firm. But in the end, it turned out that he was in cahoots with Mr. Nair. And one day I went into Srila Prabhupada's room at the back of Hare Krishna land, and he was just sort of ruminating or reflecting. And he said, I just could not understand that Diwanji was not our friend. And then he said, or maybe Krishna didn't want me to understand. And then I thought of the verse, Mata Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha, from Krishna comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. And certainly in the case of Srila Prabhupada, who was fully surrendered to Krishna and in intimate touch with Krishna. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you for all your good questions.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. It's already 8:20 Eastern time and 5:20, I guess,
Yeah.
your time. So shall we pause here or?
Yeah, we can end here. We can conclude with Vaishnava Pranam.
Yes.
And then let us offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desire trees, who can fulfill the desires of everyone and are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Panchakalpa Suryaskal Nantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Jai. Prabhupada ki
Jai.
His Holiness Giriraj, Swami
Jai
Maharaj
Maharaj.
ki
Jai.
Let's chant 3 times loudly to express our gratitude to His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj for this wonderful katha and sharing so many wonderful stories about Prabhupada's merciful attitude. So we'll chant 3 times loudly. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for the wonderful nectar.
Jai.